Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking directly to those in our audience that are going from corporate and finding their way into the coffee industry. As 2020 evolves and more people are losing their jobs, you're finding more coffee enthusiasts turning their hand at becoming members of the coffee industry because, as we've spoken about before, how hard can it be, right? Well, I'm here to let you know that there is a well-established history of people that have followed a path from corporate into the coffee industry, and the story is pretty much the same for most people. And that is that there are a number of blind spots that they could never have seen coming and would absolutely have done it differently if they had this information beforehand. So today on this episode, we are going to start talking and unpacking some of those blind spots for you. Number one, the time that it actually takes to go from having an idea of how you're going to enter the coffee industry to actually seeing that idea come to fruition. We talk a lot at Map It Forward about the idea of having a 10-year map and going through the process through our consulting groups or mastermind groups and our consulting one-on-one coaching with clients. The idea of going through the exercise of creating a 10-year map. An important element of creating the 10-year map is so that you can get a clearer vision of exactly how you see this plan unfolding. Now, if you're going into business with the expectation that you're going to be doing this for 12 months or 24 months, that's not a realistic idea of how your plan is going to unfold. The first few years of a business are laying the groundwork, and you will not see, especially in the coffee industry, anywhere close to a return on investment for what you're putting into your business. So going through and creating a detailed map, which we have gone through the process of putting the elements together for you if you're a coffee roaster or a cafe owner or going into wholesale sales of coffee, that map is imperative to show you exactly what kind of timeframes you're looking at for allowing these ideas to unfold. While most people think that you're looking at somewhere from 1 to 2 months for opening a small roastery, I assure you that a more realistic timeline is more like, on the very short end, 6 months, on the more realistic end, 12 months. So a lot of things that you may not anticipate will absolutely come into your path to show you how to anticipate, or how the things that you didn't anticipate that will show up. The next thing that people don't anticipate as a blind spot when coming into the coffee industry is just how saturated the market is. And as a result of the pandemic and a lot of the other things that have happened in 2020, even though we are seeing a number of coffee-focused businesses closing, what we are also seeing is a huge influx into the market that is kind of mitigating the natural correction that was happening as a result of the saturation in the market because of the pandemic. And that correction is not coming to fruition as we had hoped and expected. That may sound a little fierce for some people listening as to, why would Lee be saying that we need this correction? Simply because the market is saturated. And when we have a saturated market, what we end up with is a lot of the problems that we do have, which are things like 3% accepted net profit margins, and businesses that are going out of business far too quickly. So the current business model that we have got to the place that it is because of a saturated market. Now, if you are going to come into the coffee industry, what I would encourage is to consider what your unique selling proposition is. And by unique selling proposition, I mean what sets you aside from everybody else that's in the market. And that is a lot harder to define than you might think, because what you think is unique may not actually be unique. A lot of people say we're going to be the one cafe that offers genuine community. We're not just going to talk about it. Well, I guarantee you, every cafe has in their business model, this is going to be a place of genuine community. So a unique selling proposition is something that you really, really need to consider at length if you're entering the market because of saturation. Number 3, in the blind spots that you need to consider when going from corporate into the coffee industry is what the hidden costs are. And my friends, they are aplenty. Most people, when they are coming into the industry, consider that, how hard can it be to buy a roaster, rent a space, set up the roaster, and start selling coffee? Well, I assure you, the hidden costs involved in just those things alone, as well as the hidden expense in time, is significant. You have to consider things like permit costs, architectural costs, gas fitting costs if setting up a roastery, all the extra exhaust costs and, little tidbits for venting. The lists go on. Things that you wouldn't even think would add up. Things like pest control. If you go into a new building and you, as a part of your lease, you're responsible for the pest control, that's an expense that can add up pretty quickly. On the other side of things of running the business, things like shipping costs when it comes to ordering products. So when you're doing your cost breakdown analysis before you set up your business, and you're going to sit there and work out all the numbers and consider the viability of whether it's worth you going into business, it's these little hidden costs like shipping of the boxes that you're going to sell, or put your product in, the packaging, the different expense when it comes to the credit card fees. Those are things that add up that you don't anticipate. So there is a hidden financial cost and hidden time expenses that you just can't be made aware of if you have never done this before. Number 4 on our blind spots are your customer acquisition strategy. So having a customer acquisition strategy is super important before you launch your product or your brand. And this is one of the absolute red flags that I see with pretty much every business that I start to work with that has gone into business and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I can't find customers. Having a customer acquisition strategy, so this is a strategy whereby you're going to bring customers to your online store or your brick and mortar store, is imperative to making sure that your business has the best chance at success. And this is one of the things that most people don't consider before they're setting up a business. So having a customer acquisition strategy is just as important as having a unique brand that separates itself out from the rest of the market. And number 5 on our list of 5 things that could be blind spots for you if you are coming in from the corporate world into the coffee world is the astronomical challenges that we are experiencing with the coffee supply chain in 2020. Now, these are not unique to 2020, but they have been exacerbated by 2020. And I'm talking about things like the coffee price crisis and the consequence of climate shifting and climate change on coffee growing regions around the world. Additionally, 2020, specifically the pandemic, has contributed to that, those challenges by making it difficult for migratory workforces to get from coffee farm to coffee farm to coffee farm. So usually what happens in most coffee growing regions is that you'll have a picker workforce that moves as the harvest moves around a country, and they're skilled at picking coffee and they move around as the harvest progresses. Because of COVID-19 and the socioeconomic challenges with regards to healthcare that are faced in most coffee growing regions, we are experiencing limitations on workforces moving around and logistics within coffee growing countries. Now, if you are coming into the coffee industry from the corporate world, getting across just these initial 5 things is imperative if you want to have a successful business moving forward. If this is something that you would like to get ahead of before launching your business, I recommend joining one of our business or roasting mastermind groups that meet twice a month with people from around the world that are at different experience levels in this. They are fantastic and they can really fast track your success with shared learning and growth within the industry. I hope you found this helpful. You can find any relevant links in the show notes associated with this episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.